Hi, welcome back to our channel, and today we are going to do a lighting slash color grading exercise. So in the previous tutorial I have made this. But what if we want a different background image? It's interesting because if we are going to change the background, we need to color grade our character animation so that it matches the background and so that it matches also the lighting of that background. And if you are a Patreon supporter, you will have access to the original project files, so you would be able to follow along with me on this tutorial. If you want to support us on Patreon, the link is in the description. But even if you don't have access to the original project files, you will still be able to use the information in this tutorial on your projects. So let's get to it. So the first thing that we need to do in this exercise is to look for a background. And I'm using this website, pexels.com. This is a free website, so this is a safe place to look for images for your project. So one thing to consider when looking for a background is we need the background image to be compatible with our animation. So this is our animation, so I'm just going to play this. So we need to look for a background that matches the angle of this, otherwise it would look out of place. So let me just show you. So I'm going to search for street background. So this one's actually good. So when you're looking for a background for this exercise, think about if you place this character into this image, will it match? And I think it would match. It would be more of a backlighting, and that would be very cool. We're gonna use this. And for example, this one, right? This is the angle is a low angle. It seems like the camera is near the floor, right? So think about it that this is your angle, and you just like put this animation here. It would be out of place because if we have a character here, it would most likely be her foot or shoe that we would be able to see, not her face, right? So when looking for a background, make sure that the angle is compatible. So for example, this one too, it's looking up, and trying to fit this may not work. So I've been looking around, and these four backgrounds are what I've chosen for this exercise. So this is going to be the first. So this one would be really cool because just imagine this is the background, this is the character. So we're gonna adjust the lighting that it would be only like a part of her face that would be in light, right? That would be a very cool effect. And this one, as I've mentioned earlier, this one too is a good image. So this one would be more of a rim lighting effect. If you have seen Blade Runner or the cyberpunk anime, it's gonna look like that. We have two sources of light here, or two colors. We have like orange and green. So we could like mix those colors, and that would be interesting. That maybe this part of her face would be in orange, and maybe this part would be in green, and that would give a very cool effect. And lastly, this one, I chose this because I think it fits the animation well. Think about the potential of this image. We have a foreground element. We could just cut this or mask this out, and then bring this over to the front, so we have a foreground image, and that would make this a very interesting shot. And also, if we analyze the lighting, it's easy enough. The main light source comes from the left side from the windows, and we have secondary lighting on top. So next, I'm going to show you the new way to do alpha mattes. If you have updated to the latest version of After Effects 2023, you will realize that the UI changed a little bit, and the way we do alpha mattes now is a bit different. but it's still the same concept. So let me just demonstrate that for you. So I'm just gonna create a new comp, and I'm just going to use a circle to demonstrate this. And I'm just gonna make this stroke empty. And I'm just gonna change the color of this to maybe white. And this would be our circle. This would be our first circle. And I'm just gonna duplicate this. That's Command D if you're working on a Mac. That's Control D if you're working on a Windows. So before, the way we do track mattes is if you click this toggle switches mode, it's gonna toggle between the track matte and the other modes. So try to look for this track matte. And the way we do alpha mattes before is that it needs to be, the acting mask needs to be on top. But now it's not like that anymore. It behaves the same way like you do parenting. So there's now this pick whip icon, and on the track matte you also have this pick whip icon. So if you want to mask this one to this, you just have to pick whip this to this one above. So the target would be the acting mask. So this one is what we targeted to, so this one became the target mask, and it's automatically hidden, right? So right now it's hidden. The target mask is hidden, but we could also reveal this. And I'm just gonna change the color of this to red. And if we bring this to below, it's gonna be like that. This one is still like targeted to the mask here, but now instead of having this hidden, I could like hide this like that, or reveal it. So you could now see like both of them. Now, what if you want an inverted mask? So let me just hide this. So to invert a mask, just right beside here, there's this empty like square. If you click that, that's going to invert the mask. So basically, that's the new way to do alpha mattes. So now we could proceed. So I'm going to apply this background first. So this is the project. So I have here a girl animation 1, and I have a girl animation 0 comp and a BG1 comp. So the BG1 is what I did in the previous tutorial using this background, right? And this one has some, if you look at the effect, you will see I have added the lumetri color, and inside I have added some lighting, additional lighting in After Effects. So the layer name for this is the girl animation 1, and I have created a girl animation 0, which is I'm now inside the girl animation 0 comp, and here I have it on its base form. This is what it looks like just in Photoshop. So I have animated this frame by frame in Photoshop, and this is the result. And the reason I made an animation 0, so that we'll start from the base or the original colors. So I'm just gonna duplicate this BG1 comp, and I'm gonna go inside this comp, and I'm just gonna delete the girl animation 1 and the background, and I'm going to just duplicate this girl animation 0. So this girl animation 2 is a copy of girl animation 0, which is just the base color, right? I mean the original color. So I'm gonna bring that to my comp. So this is BG2 comp, and I'm just gonna position this somewhere around here, something like that. And let's import our background. So I'm just gonna drag this to into this BG images folder that I have made. And then from here, I'm just gonna drag it below the girl animation to comp. So something like that. So I'm just gonna zoom out a bit, and I'm just gonna scale this that it's almost the same or the right scale. So if you're wondering about the resolution, I'm just gonna click this composition settings, and it's 180 pixels for the width, and for the height it's 1350, and the frame rate is 24. So currently it's okay, but the color grading of this doesn't match our background, right? So let me open Photoshop. So I'm just gonna use Photoshop as a whiteboard so I could explain this to you. So we have the character, right? So I'm just gonna like quickly like draw a silhouette, like something like that. So the lighting of the background it's something like this, right? So let me go back to After Effects. So I'm just gonna click this solo mode right here. So you'll see that, this is the part here where it's gonna be in light and the rest is in shadow. Maybe there's a window somewhere. So we need to match that with our character. So let me go back to Photoshop. So we need to match this, that it would have this lighting, and we want this part to be on light and this part here to be on shadow. So this is now our animation. So I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm just gonna create a mask or before that, so that it's clearer. So let me like undo this, and on our like effects and presets tab, I'm just gonna search for fill and apply fill to this one. So it's red, right? We have this on top, right? And I'm just gonna like change the color of this to maybe like orange or dark orange, something like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna create a mask, not the take note that this isn't the alpha matte. So I'm creating a mask just specific on this layer. So it would be like something like this, but this one isn't right. I want the other parts to be in shadow, not this one. So if I'm gonna expand this and expand the mask and click this inverted, then it's gonna be like that. And for the blending mode, here for the mode, if you don't see this option, you could just click this toggle switches, right? And just make sure that this mode is revealed, and you also have this track matte. And for the mode, I'm going to change this to multiply. So now it's gonna be like that. So I'm gonna press V on my keyboard and adjust the mask a bit. And you could also, if we zoom in here, you'll see that our background, the shadow here, isn't really sharp, right? It's feathered. So we could also adjust our mask to replicate that. So I'm gonna expand this mask, and for feather, maybe increase the feather a bit. And let's take a look. So far, so good. I think the background is too big, so I'm just gonna scale this down a bit. But I want this to have a more anime kind of feel to this. Currently, the background is it's still too realistic. So let me click the background and let's make some adjustments to this. So for the background, so this is the background, and I'm gonna add a lumetri color effect to this. So search the effects and presets tab. I'm gonna type here lumetri color, double click this, and now I have applied that to the background, this image. And there's a lot of settings you could play around with. So for the basic correction, I'm just gonna expand this. You'll have option to temperature and tint. So if I'm gonna like adjust the temperature, it's gonna be warmer. If I'm gonna go to the negative, it's gonna be in a cool color. And if we adjust the tint to the right side, it's gonna be like a magenta color. And if we're gonna move towards the negative, it's gonna be like green, I think. So what I want for this background would be something more warm. So maybe I'm just gonna change this to 50. And I'm just gonna change the exposure to 1, making this more brighter, something like that. Or let me adjust the temperature, make this 75. And the background looks good. But now the color of the character is not matching the background. So we need to like adjust the color of this. So what you can do is for this, the one below, right? This one is our shadow, the one on top. This one is our shadow. So we didn't use any alpha mats here, just basic masking, right? For the one here, so I'm just gonna rename the one on top so that we're not going to be confused. I'm gonna rename this to girl animation to shadow. So for the one below the original one, I'm gonna add a lumetri color here. And just like with the background, I'm gonna change the temperature. And the lighting of this is a bit like harsh. So I'm expecting kind of like a glow to the overall scene. So I'm just gonna create a new adjustment layer and apply a glow effect. And I'm going to increase the radius and just play around with the glow threshold. And if it's too much, we could lessen the glow intensity to maybe 0.5. But currently, right now, I like the background color, but the character still not so much. So let's go back here. I want this to be more yellow. So I think this isn't working for me. So I'm just gonna delete this one. And what we're gonna do is I'm going to go back to my Photoshop. So currently the layers that we have is we have the original one and we have the shadow. So I'm just gonna like quickly illustrate this, right? So we have this in a separate layer. So we have the original and we have the shadow. What I plan to do next, because the lumetri color wasn't working for me, I want it to be more warm in color. So I want to do this manually and have a yellow color right here and maybe overlaid that so that the part where the light would hit the character, it would be more yellowish. So now we would have this 3 layers. We have the shadow, we have this one, the light, and the original character. So we need to create this. Since we already have this, remember, we just need to duplicate this and invert the mask so that we could have this shape and just change the color. So let's do that. For the shadow, I'm just gonna duplicate this, but instead of shadow, let me rename this to light, maybe. And instead of, I'm just gonna change this back to normal so that you could see, right? I'm not applying any blending mode on this yet. And I'm gonna expand this, and let's go to our mask. And instead of inverted, I'm gonna click this. So now we have this one, but instead of dark orange, maybe more yellow, something like that. And instead of normal, I'm gonna change the blending mode. Not multiply, that would be the effect for multiply. It's actually okay, but I think overlay would be much better blending mode for this. So it's now like that. Currently it's too strong. You can either adjust the color of the fill effect to much darker, or you can just change the opacity of this. I'm gonna press T on my keyboard and just adjust the opacity, dial it down a bit, and let's have a look. And that's for option 1. So next I'm going to do option 2, which is this background. So I'm just going to drag and drop it to this BG images folder, and let me just rename the comps. I'm just gonna rename this as option 0. This is the original comp that I used in a previous tutorial. This is option 1. Okay, now I'm gonna do option 2. So I'm just gonna duplicate this one, and let's go inside option 2 comp, and in here I'm just gonna like delete everything. I'm just gonna leave the girl animation 2, and then let me bring the this background right here, and let me just scale this to maybe around something like this, and we could maybe adjust the size of this character, something like that. And remember, we are on option 2 and we are using girl animation 2 comp, and in option 1 it's still the same girl animation 2 comp, so that we don't accidentally like adjust something here, because we're gonna adjust inside of this comp. So I'm just gonna duplicate now 2 and 3. They're like the same like thing. This is now like girl animation 3 is now a copy of girl animation 2. So I'm just gonna hold and drag, and while holding and drag, I'm gonna hold the Alt key or Option key. If you're working on a Mac, that's Option. If you're working on a Windows, that's Alt. If you hold that, and you'll see here that there's this plus icon. Now if you release your mouse, now this has been replaced with girl animation 3, right? So if we adjust this one, the one in option 1 won't be affected, and that's what we want. Okay, so now what we will do is duplicate this, because we need to cut this off and bring that on front. So let me just click this solo mode, and I'm just gonna click the pen tool, and we're gonna like cut this. I'm gonna like shape this like foreground. So I'm just not gonna make it super clean, just, you know, quickly. You can spend more time on this. So now I have cut this part. Let's disable the solo mode, so now we could see everything. Now let's bring this on front. So it's gonna be like that. And there's a part here that's kind of like weird, right? Since we already have the mask, let's make this a bit feathered, right? So I'm just gonna expand this and expand the mask and expand mask 1. And for the mask feather, I'm just gonna increase this by a bit. We could even adjust this one, like our path. Maybe something like that would be good. And now let's analyze the scene. So I'm just gonna collapse this. So now we have 3 layers. This is our foreground, our background, and before we adjust the character, I'm just gonna like add a lumetri color for the background. So in my effects and presets tab, I'm gonna search for lumetri color. And under the basic correction, I'm just gonna change the temperature to 25 is good. Maybe around 40. I think that's good. I'm just gonna copy this effect and apply it on the foreground. So now we have that warm feel. And then let's go inside of Girl Animation 3. So I'm going to open Photoshop and I want to demonstrate to you what I want to do. We have our character, right? I'm just gonna quickly like sketch out. This is now the character. And if we analyze the scene, the main light source is coming from here. So if the main light source is coming from here, this part would be in light, or this part could be in shadow, and this part here, and also here, right? This one that I marked red should be in light, and the one that isn't marked red should be in shadow. Now let's go back to our After Effects. Now that's the reason why we need to go inside of this layer and apply like the lighting on each of the parts. It's because if I'm going to apply lighting right here, right? So I'm gonna duplicate this, for example, and then I'm already on my track matte. I could now see my track matte. If not, just click the toggle switches mode, and then this pick whip, I'm just gonna click it right here, right? So the one on below is now hidden. Now for the one on top, I'm going to apply a fill effect to this, and maybe I'm going to add like, I'm just gonna make this dark for now so that you could see, right? And I'm going to reveal the layer below. So if I'm gonna move this one, see, you see that we're like masking out the sides, and that's good and all, but the part of the face is not, we can't like crop this out using this technique, right? Because we are like masking like the whole thing. It's only like cropping out the sides. So let me go back to Photoshop. So what we need is, we need this one to also be like cropped out, and we can't do that in just here. We need to go inside. So I'm just gonna undo this, and now let's go inside of this comp, and then let's apply that. So for example, the head color right here, I'm gonna duplicate this, and for the duplicate, I'm just gonna rename this to head color shadow, and I'm just gonna change the layer color here to maybe yellow, so we could know that this is a shadow. Okay, so now for the track matte, I'm going to click it here to the one below, so it's now masked to this layer. And then for this one, I'm going to apply a fill effect, for example, like that, right? And I'm just gonna change this to maybe blue, or maybe make it dark so that I could just see the difference. And I'm not. What we need to do is we need to apply this to multiply, but it's currently weird because we have the one below hidden, so I need to reveal that, right? So it's now like that, and we still have like, I have a different layer for like the face details right here. So I'm just gonna bring the face details to below the head shadow, so that they would be all included like that. So I'm just gonna change this one to normal for now, but we're gonna change that to multiply later on, so that you could see what I'm like trying to get at here. So for the hair front, I'm also gonna duplicate this, and the one on top, I'm gonna apply fill effect, and I'm just gonna copy this color. I'm gonna copy that, and then I'm gonna paste it here so that they're gonna be the same. And I'm gonna, for the track matte, I'm going to target this one, right? It's targeted here, and make sure to reveal the one on below. And the one on top, I'm going to rename this to hair front shadow. And then I'm going to change the layer color to yellow. And now I'm going to apply that to all of the parts here. I'm going to apply that to the arm, to earring, body. I'm going to apply that to like all of the elements. So now I have finished like adding like the shadow layer on top. So I have a shadow for the hair back. So I forgot to rename this. I'm just gonna rename this to hair back shadow. So if I'm gonna like hide this, so every of the layers has those has a shadow layer. Now what we want to do, for example, they're all like alpha matte to the layer below. And for the one on top, like for example this one, I'm just gonna move this like that, right? And for the head color shadow, I have changed the color of the layer so that it's easier for me to locate. For the head color shadow, I'm just gonna move this like that. And this one is for the body shadow. And for the hair, I'm just gonna move it like this. And for the arm, so I'm just gonna move it like this, but I'm going to undo this, and I will explain why. Okay, so once we have finished doing this, right, we effectively like masked out like the sides of this, because now they are in like separate layers, right? So the next thing that we're gonna do is for all of the layers, the one with this yellow, the shadow layers, we're going to change the blending mode to multiply. So now it's looking good. Now, when thinking about what color to choose, I need to go back to the composition on top, right? To the composition before this, which is option 2, and see if our colors match the background. So instead of going like back and forth, changing the color here and going back again, what we could do is we could click this lock icon right here. So I'm gonna click that. What this does is it will lock this view, and then I'm gonna click this one is compositions, right? I could see the compositions inside of this. So I'm going to go here on Girl Animation 3. I'm gonna click that. It will open up another window right here. So this one is the one before, like, and as you can see, I can change the color right here, and it will like automatically update right here. So the next that I'm gonna do is the shadows is just too harsh, right? The light seems like it's too harsh. It's very sharp. I want to soften that, and in order to soften like the shadow, we could like add blur to this. So for example, I'm just gonna, for example, in the head shadow, so this is the head color shadow, I'm just gonna add a blur effect. So a Gaussian blur would be perfect for our purpose. So I'm gonna double click this. It will be applied on this layer, and then I'm just gonna uncheck this repeat, and then increase the blurriness, and you'll see that it has softened the edges, and that's what I want. So so that I won't have to repeat the whole process, I'm just gonna copy this and paste it to all of the other shadow layers. So now I'm going to explain the one I said earlier, that I don't want to like add an offset to the shadow of the arm. The reason is because here, take a look at this. If we like add an offset, it's like the arm is separate to the shoulder of the character, and I want them to be connected. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove Gaussian blur, and also here, as you can see, because of the offset, it feels like the arm is like separate to the body, and I don't really want that. So I'm going to remove the offset. I'm gonna like bring it to its original position. So I think that is the original position. And what I'm gonna do is, instead of like doing an offset like this, what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to like create a mask, something like this. And let's invert this mask. So I'm gonna expand this, go to mask, and then click this inverted. So what it does is, it's like I cut off this part. So this part now isn't in shadow. So I could just adjust the mask. And because currently it's too sharp, to match the other lighting, I could just expand the mask and adjust the feather. So currently the lighting is, or the shadow color isn't matching our background, right? It's too dark. It's like this character is standing during nighttime, right? So let me adjust that. I want to start with the face or the head. So I'm gonna locate our like head shadow. So this is the head shadow, I think. So this is the head shadow. So I'm just gonna choose a different color, maybe something lighter. I need to click OK so that this one would update. I think this is good. I want this to be somehow like a blue color, because if you try to observe like the color of the room or the shadows around here, right, it's a bit like bluish. So I think we are already in a good spot by making this like blue, but currently the color is just like too dark. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press T on my keyboard, letter T, to change the opacity. So I'm just gonna lower the opacity of this to maybe around 65. And we could see here that it feels so much better. If we look at this, it feels so much better. I think we already got like the cool color. If you look here, the shadows are a cool color. The light source, because we also added the lumetri effect, right, making it more warm. But the light is warm, but the shadows are cool. So this one is like the shadow, and it's on a cool color. So I'm just gonna copy this, the fill, right, and paste this to all of the like shadow layers. So that would effectively replace the fill effect that was in there. And then I need to match also the opacity. So the opacity of this is 100. The opacity I used for the head was 65. So I'm gonna just change this to 65 to all of the other layers as well. So if we look at this, if you look at here, it's getting me, it's okay, but it's like too blue, right? So let's go to option 2. So I'm just gonna keep this locked, because I'm gonna like go back and forth, right? So I'm gonna go to option 2 because I want to like add a lumetri color to this layer. So I'm just gonna add a lumetri color effect to this one, and under basic correction, let me just add like add temperature to this, something like that. And right now it feels already so much better, because I could now feel like this character is now part of the light. It already has like the same lighting as the background. The only thing is, I want this shadow for the head to be pushed back a bit further, so that this part of the face, this part right here, would still be in light, right? So I'm going to go inside this comp. So I'm now inside this comp, and I'm gonna locate the head shadow layer. So this is the head shadow, and like what we did with the arm, I'm gonna apply that with the head. So I'm gonna like mask this out, so maybe at around something like that. And we need to invert this, right? So I'm just gonna expand the mask and click the inverted. So it's now gonna be like that. And I could also play around with the feather if I want, but it already has a Gaussian blur effect, so it's already okay. So right now it feels like much better. I do think that the opacity of the shadow is still like too high. Maybe if we change this to around 50, that feels so much better. So let's change the color of the shadow for the rest to 50. Like currently it's 65. Let's bring this all to 50. So we are almost done with this. But we have a problem because if we take a look at here, right, the arm, if you look at the arm, it moves, right? So we need to animate our mask. And to animate our mask, you need to expand this, locate the mask option right here, expand that, expand it again. And for the mask path, you could actually keyframe the mask path. So I'm gonna click this so I have no keyframe. And then I'm just gonna move back in time. And then, just adjust the mask of this so that the mask is also animating, so that it's the lighting is like moving along, right? And also for the head, because we also like created a mask for the head and the head is animating, right? So I'm gonna expand this and go to mask and create a keyframe for the mask path, and then move back in time somewhere around here, right? And I'm gonna just adjust the mask so that it would only like show this part, and then again from here, this part here, because she's like turned around, so I want her to be like covered in like shadow, something like that. And the animation of the mask isn't refined, but for the sake of like demonstrating, this is already like okay. So I'm going to just preview this. So I'm looking at this one and the animation is already good. So let's go to option 2 and have a look at our animation. So it's already looking very good. For this one, I want to add a like additional blur because I'm not feeling this one because we just cut it off, right? There is some sort of like mistake, and to hide that mistake, we could add like more blur to this. So the image, this one doesn't have a blur yet, right? Only the lumetri color. It's blurred because the image, the original image is blurred, right? And we cut that off and bring that on front. But now I want to like add an additional blur here in After Effects so that we could hide that mistake that we did. So for the blurriness, I'm just gonna uncheck this let's repeat edges and just increase the blurriness and have a look, maybe more blurriness, something like that. And maybe I'm just gonna extend the mask path a bit. Perfect. Now it's much it looks much cleaner, and it's almost already good enough, but we still need to add one more lighting to this. And because as you can see here, there is like a light source right here, and we could assume that there's a light source above her, right? This is like a library, so like the lights are like patterned in a certain way. So if there's a light here, there's probably a light here and also a light above her. So we need to create that light effect. So I'm going to go inside Girl Animation 3 again, and I'm just gonna collapse this, and we need the hair. So I'm gonna locate the hair front. So this is the hair front. Okay, so I'm gonna duplicate this and bring this on top. And what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna go back to Photoshop and I'm gonna sketch this out for you. So what we want is, this is her hair, right? And what we want is we want to have like only this portion right here, to be in a different color, probably a highlight color, probably yellow because the light is somehow yellow or orange. So you still need the way that we could do that is, we could duplicate this, right? So I'm just gonna duplicate this in Photoshop. So now I have like two copies. So now I have like two copies of this, right? So what I want to do is offset this so it would make this pattern. And we could do that with alpha mats, or if we invert the alpha mat, we could achieve something like this. So let's try that out. So I'm just gonna click solo mode so that we could like focus on just the hair, okay? And I'm gonna duplicate this one. Remember, this is both of this are duplicate. This isn't the original, right? And what I'm going to do is for the track mat, I'm going to target the one below, right? So now we could like see this, right? This is what we could see. And if you look at here, if you're gonna check this is going to invert the mat. So now it's inverted, right? It's inverted, so there's nothing you could see. But if you are going to adjust the position of the target, right? So this one is the alpha mat's inverted and it's targeted here on the layer below. If I'm gonna adjust this layer below, you could see that we have that effect. Now I could just apply a fill effect to this, right? So I'm just gonna apply a fill, something like that, right? Or probably like yellow. Then we have our highlight, right? So now I'm gonna remove the solo mode and let's have a look. So it's gonna look like that. Currently, it's too cartoony because it's sharp. But if we apply blur to this, it's going to fit well. So let's do that. I'm going to apply Gaussian blur and increase the blur. So currently, if you look at here, it's not behaving like we want to. That's because we are blurring the one on top. We need to blur the target. So I'm just gonna delete this and we need to add the blur effect to the target right here. And I'm gonna uncheck the repeat edges. And now it's gonna look like that. Currently, it's too much. Maybe also the blending mode, we could change this to however you like. I'd like to use add or overlay. Maybe not overlay, but probably add or color dodge would be good. And we could change also the opacity, just a very subtle amount. And also for the hair front, I'm just gonna like reduce the offset of this. So I'm just gonna change this to 10 so that I could like see this a bit clearer. Just something like that, very, very subtle. And for the blurriness, I'm gonna bring this to maybe 40. And for the color of this, let's try something like that, or maybe more orange. I'm just trying out color. So if you look here, we need to match this color here with this one. So let me increase the opacity. So I think that's better. So now, perfect. Now let's go back to option 2. And I think I'm already done with adjusting the lighting inside. So I could now like unlock this and then close this one. So we could just have like one view. We could just like have this. And let's have a look at the animation. So I'm just gonna preview this. So now it's already good. And let's just like add one final touch. I'm going to click layer, new, then adjustment layer. And then let's apply glow to this. And currently it's all messed up. So we need to play around with the settings. So I'm gonna increase the glow radius, and increase the glow threshold. Something like that. Right now it's looking really good. If it's too much glow, I could just change the glow intensity to 0.5. So before we proceed, I'd like to explain a little bit about compositions and pre-compositions, and why do we need to duplicate this girl animation tree every time we like duplicate this option to comp. So I'm going to explain all that first before proceeding. So again, I'm just gonna use Photoshop as my whiteboard. So a composition, let's say this rectangle, this is a comp. Let's say this is our option 1 comp. And inside that comp, we have another composition, which that's what we call nested composition, meaning a composition inside a composition. So let's say this is that girl 2 comp currently, right? So this comp is right here. So this is the girl animation 2 comp. So what happens if we duplicate the comp is what happens is if we duplicate option 1, right? So it's gonna create a copy of this girl animation 2. So in option 2, we still have that girl animation 2 comp, but take note that both of these are the same. So if we're not going to like create a new comp for option 2, they are all the same. So if we're gonna change the insides of the girl animation 2 here, that's going to also change the one on option 1 because they are basically the same composition. So that's the reason why every time we duplicate this master comp, every time we duplicate that, we also need to duplicate the comps inside of it. So that is the reason why we duplicated this comp. And let's say this is now girl animation 3. And what we need to do is replace this with this one. So the shortcut for that was the Alt or Option key, right? So basically, this is what we do, right? So now if I'm gonna adjust the things inside of this comp, this one won't be affected. So now I'm going to do option 3, which is this background. So I'm just going to hold, click, and drag this to my After Effects project, and I'm gonna bring it to this folder, BG Images. And then I'm going to duplicate option 2. So I'm gonna duplicate option 2. We're now I'm gonna double click option 3. So now we're inside option 3. And as I've explained earlier, this one and the one in option 2, they're basically the same comp, right? So that I don't make some like accident changes, I'm going to duplicate girl animation 3. So this one here, I'm going to duplicate it. Now we have girl animation 4. So I'm now going to hold, click, and drag, and then I'm gonna hold the Option key, or that's the Alt key if you're working on Windows, and then release your mouse. And then now it's replaced. Now this is now girl animation 4. So if I make changes to this, it's not going to affect the one in option 2 because this one's now a different comp. So next is we have done the replacement method in compositions, but you could also do that with images. So I already have this image right here, and I'm just gonna hold, click, and drag this one. This is now our new background, and then I'm going to release. So it's either you can hold, click, and drag and hold the Alt key or Option key to this one, or here it's just the same. So I'm going to release now. Currently it's so small, so I'm going to make this a bit bigger. And we don't need the foreground element here, so I'm just gonna delete this one. And we still have the glow, so I think I'll just keep that, or I'm just going to hide this for now. And make sure for the background, because there is this girl right here, make sure that if ever you have an image like that and you're going to use it, make sure that it's hidden, right? And then I'm going to try and match the perspective of this, so maybe around like here. So I'm gonna make this a bit bigger now, something like that. And I'm going to lock this one because I want to adjust now the girl animation for comp, right? But I want to see like the whole thing. So I'm going to click this one now. So it's going to open open a new like panel. So I just want to keep this one right there. And then one thing that we have to consider is the lighting of this is at the back. So most likely it's going to be like rim lighting. The whole character would be like covered in shadow, and like a portion right here would be in light. So currently the character is very like bright. So let's make this character dark. So remember that this comp is a duplicate, and we already have set up the shadows, right? But instead of 50, let's make all shadows 100%. So now I have made everything 100%. Let's delete this like highlight color. So that is this two like hair front. We forgot to change the layer color for this. It would be best to change the layer color. So maybe for highlight, we are going to use the red color. So let's do that next time. So I'm just gonna select both. I'm just gonna delete this. So currently it's still not matching the overall feel, right? So I'm gonna change the color of the fill on the comp, like this one, to maybe this color. So I could just use the eyedropper tool, maybe something like that. And I'm going to copy this. So I'm gonna copy this fill effect with this specific color and paste them to other shadow layers. So currently it's better, but I think it's now too dark. So maybe let's just change this to around 75. So I think 75 is good. So I'm gonna apply 75 to the rest of the shadow layers. So without like adding the like added rim light colors here, it's already like feeling okay. It's already feeling the feeling is that the character is now is within this world already. So her colors already kind of like matched the background already. But let's add some rim light. So to discuss rim light, I'm all going back to Photoshop again, so that this would be like my whiteboard. So rim light. So let's say we have this character, and what we want to do is we want to have like some lighting here, probably in like neon color, right? Because the lights in the background, they're like very vibrant. So we could have this in like neon color, and we could also have the other side in like a different neon color. Maybe this one could be green, and maybe this one could be pink or orange or maybe more of a red color, and that's gonna give you like more of that Blade Runner kind of look, or the cyberpunk anime kind of look. So let's go back here. So how do we do that? Right, we've already done the highlight for the hair, right, in the previous option. We're gonna do the same for the face and this side. So we want this part to be that like vibrant color. So now we are going to create the highlight color right here. So I'm just gonna duplicate this head color, and I'm just gonna bring this on top right here, and then I'm just gonna add a fill effect to this. Let's just do red for now, just so we could like clearly see. And for the layer color, I'm going to change this to red now, and then I'm going to duplicate this. So I now have two copies of this shape. Now on the one on top, I'm going to, like the track matte, I'm gonna target that to the one below, and then click the invert matte. So now you can't see anything. But how this works is if you're going to adjust the position of the target layer, so this is the target layer, right? So I'm gonna move that like this. We now have like that vibrant color. And now let's try and adjust this. So instead of red, maybe change this to yellow or yellow orange, something like this. And the blending mode, let's change this to, let's try add. That's good. I don't like the color, but the effect, I like the effect that you could still see like the eyes here. So I think add is good, or let's try color dodge. Yeah, I think color dodge is better. I think it would now boil down to your preference. Let me stick with color dodge. I'm not sure if I like the add better or the color dodge, but let's stick with this for now. And I'm just gonna adjust the color of this to maybe around something more orange, I guess, or maybe red. Something like that, right? This one has a good effect because if I choose the orange, it's like the sun. The effect is like the lighting is coming from the sun, and that's not what I want. I want it like it's because of the street lights. Like the street lights is lighting her face, so yellow isn't working for me. So I'm trying this red, which give it a more pink color, which is almost similar to the one here. And let me just adjust the color of the, or I mean the position of this. Maybe something like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the same method to the hair, this part, to the hand, and to the body. So now I have finished applying it to the rest of the layers. Now what we need to do is to apply the same effect but on the opposite side. But now let's try a different color. Also this we have like animated the mask of the shadow for the face and the hand. It's not currently working for me. It's not working in this scenario. So let's just delete the mask. So let me locate the like head shadow. So this is the head shadow. And let me expand and select this mask. I'm just gonna delete this. So now it's going to look something like that. And also for the hand or the arm. So I'm just gonna delete the mask for the arm as well. So now it's good. Now let's apply the same like neon color on this part of the hair and also for the body. So for the face, we don't really need to add anymore the neon color. This is already sufficient. This part of the hair and also this part of the body. So let's locate the hair. So we need the original hair, not the highlight. So this one I marked red. These are the highlight. This one here, the red one. So we need to duplicate the original hair front. So I'm gonna duplicate this, bring this on top, and I'm gonna change the fill. I'm gonna add a fill effect to this and maybe make this to neon green, something like that, and then duplicate this again. And for both of these layers, I'm just gonna change this to maybe pink, meaning pink is the highlight colors on this side. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the same process. So the track matte, I'm gonna target it here, and then click the inverted matte. And then for the target layer, I'm gonna adjust this a bit so that it looks something like that. And for this color here, let's change this to color dodge. And maybe it's too bright, or I think it now depends on your taste, because this could also be good. It's giving off that anime kind of look. But if you want to tone it down a bit, so you can just adjust the opacity, or maybe adjust some blur because it's now too sharp. So I could adjust or add a Gaussian blur here. Maybe change this to 50. I made a mistake. We need to add the Gaussian blur to the target layer and change this to maybe 50. If that's what you want. Currently it's not working for me. I think making this to 10, or I think I would like it just without the Gaussian blur. I just need to change the opacity, just lessen this. Just maybe 80 would be good. Or we could also adjust the color here. I think this one's giving off a good effect. Something like that. Now let's apply the same method on the body. So currently it's working for me. Let's now go to option 3 right here. And for the adjustment layer, so I'm just gonna reveal this. This is the glow. And let me bring the glow threshold a bit. And remember in the, so I'm just gonna adjust this, and let's expand the basic correction. And I could also adjust the temperature and tint of this. So remember, if we change the temperature to on the right side, it's gonna make our footage warmer. And if we're gonna have the tint to a negative value, that's making the footage more green. So if we're gonna have this on this side here, and this one maybe 100, it's going to have both the green part and also the warm mixed together. So I think that's also a good it's giving it a good effect. Now the character is more fitting now to the background. And I'm not really a fan of this right now, the body. So let's tone this down a bit. So I'm gonna go back to Girl Animation 4 and locate the highlight of the body. So I'm gonna click the target and maybe push this back a bit. So I just want this to be a subtle effect, and maybe change the opacity to 30, or maybe tone it down to 20. Something like that. I think that's already good. So let's go back to our option 3, and then we don't need this anymore. I'm not gonna go back anymore. So I'm going to unlock this and close this. Okay, so we just have like one view. And let's continue to adjust the lumetri color of this, right? So without the lumetri color, so I'm just gonna like disable the effect. Without the lumetri color, it looks like that. Actually, it also looks good. I guess now it boils down to your preference, but I think I like this one better because it's like more fitting to the scene. Let's adjust the contrast a bit and maybe like add an exposure. So now the whole image is now like a bit brighter, or maybe just 0.5. So I think I'm already done with this. So let's preview this animation. So this one isn't working for me, this one here. That's probably because of the color dodge. So let's go back inside and let's locate this here. So instead of color dodge, I'm just gonna use add, I think would be a better choice. And let's go back to option 3. But currently it's too bright, so I'm just gonna adjust the opacity of this. I'm still not happy with the color, so I could like spend the whole day just trying to find the right color for this, because I like this neon color, but it feels like it's too much. So I could probably adjust the target layer and adjust the position so that it's only going to be a small amount. This is probably what I want. Also for the color right here, instead of color dodge, I'm gonna change this to add. So for the face, the head color, so this one, instead of color dodge, I'm gonna replace that with add. And also for the hair, so I'm gonna replace all of them to add. And I'm still not liking this green part here. So let's adjust the position of the target. So I'm just gonna like bring this down a bit so that this one here won't be like shown. So I'm gonna adjust this to find that right position. So maybe something like this. So for the background, we could like also add a Gaussian blur to this, so you can replicate that like focus effect in the camera. So we could like add Gaussian blur, maybe change the blurriness to 50, or that's just too much. Maybe change this to 15, or just maybe 6 or 7. So this is without blur, with blur. So it's making the character like pop a bit more. And also for the girl animation, let's tone down this temperature and tint. So instead of 100, let me try 50, and this one here to -50. I think I'm liking this better. So it's still lacking for me. So I think we need to add some sort of like rim light to the arm as well. So let us go inside the girl animation 4 comp again. So let me lock this and then click this girl animation 4 so that we could have this split screen. And then here, let's locate the arm. So I think this is that arm. So I'm just gonna duplicate this and bring this on top, right? And then change the color. I'm gonna add a fill effect now. Make this neon green, something like that. Let's just adjust this later on. And then change the I'm gonna change this to pink because it's gonna be on the right side. So I'm gonna duplicate this now, target it to the one below, and then change it to alpha matte inverted. And then for the target layer, I'm going to adjust it to something like this. So now I it feels better now. So let's go back to our main comp, to option 3. So let me unlock this and close to this, and then let's preview the animation. So lastly, we are going to do this background. So this is option 4. So let's go back to our project and let's drag and drop this to BG images right here. So we have this option 0, option 1, option 2, and option 3, and inside them we have this girl animation 1, girl animation 2, 3, and 4. So with regards to what we have to duplicate, it doesn't really need to be the latest number, right? What we need is what composition is closest to the one that we are trying to make, right? Because this one we've made lots of adjustments. So I think the closest one would be this option 1, right? So I'm gonna duplicate this, and now I'm gonna go inside of this. So I'm just gonna delete this girl animation 2 light and shadow, and now we're and then we just have this one, and I'm still inside option 4, right? So if I'm gonna go inside girl animation 2 and make some changes, that's going to be a problem. So let's duplicate girl animation 2, right? So I'm gonna duplicate now this, and then replace this one here. So I'm gonna hold click and drag and hold the option key. So now it's replaced with it's now replaced. But actually we don't really need to go inside with this latest background or this option 4, but it's just good practice to have your comps to be separate. So now let's replace this background with the latest one. So this, I'm gonna hold click and drag and hold the option key. So now we have this. And then for the effects here, because we have added some like lumetri colors, I'm just gonna delete this and let's just add lumetri later on. And also for our main comp, we also don't have any effects, so I think that's good. If we take a look at the background, so I'm gonna hide this girl animation 2. If you look at the background, if you analyze it, it's really not a good idea that this girl is standing here at the middle, right? But no one really knows that there's a train right here. I just want the lighting effect. So just make sure that you have this one like hidden, right? That it can't, or it can't be like distinguished by the viewer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add some Gaussian blur to this, because what I really like about this is the lighting effect. So I'm just gonna make this to maybe 15 or 25. Right, so now it's you don't notice it anymore. So next, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to duplicate. So I'm not gonna go anymore inside of this because we don't need like a separate lighting for each part. This is like strictly just backlighting, right? So if I'm going to duplicate this now, and then click the toggle switches mode, and then I'm gonna click it again, and for the track matte, I'm going to target this one below, and for this one above, I'm just gonna apply a fill effect to maybe something darker, something dark blue maybe, to match the background, and then change this to multiply. So currently nothing's happening because we have the one the target hidden. So let's reveal this, right? So now we could like see this, right? Barely see the illustration. So now let's adjust the opacity for this one. So I'm gonna press T and then reduce the opacity. It's because this is just like a basic like silhouette kind of shot. But even if it's a silhouette, right, or the light source is coming from behind, there should be some sort of like glow here, or this part here like a halo effect, right? So how do we do that? You can just apply Gaussian blur to this one, to this layer, right? So I'm just gonna apply Gaussian blur, and I'm just gonna uncheck this repeat edge pixels, and then for blurriness, you will see that as I make this like bigger, you will see that a portion here, right? Like it's, you could already see. So I'm just gonna like disable and enable this effect so that you could see the difference, right? So you already have some sort of that halo effect, right? Like some light here at the edge. And if we add glow, so currently we have this adjustment layer on top, and we have this glow. I'm just gonna make the glow intensity to 1, and I'm gonna reduce the glow threshold to maybe something like this, and then maybe adjust the glow radius. And I'll continue to tinker with the settings. So if you want to increase the halo effect, you can just increase also the blurriness right here. And I'm just gonna adjust some of these settings here. So the overall shot already looks good, but I feel like it's still lacking a bit of glow. Although we do have that like halo effect, I want to emphasize that a bit more. So I think we need to add like so I'm just gonna open Photoshop. So currently what we have is we have a character right here, and we have like a light source on the back. And what happens is we have this in shadow, one on front, and that's already good. And we have like cut off the shadow a bit, so it would like, because we added like blur, right? So this like parts here are like not in shadow. This is the only part right here like in shadow, but this one is like empty, so you are seeing the original color. But to emphasize the like glow, so I think we need a different like lighting here that's only going to be on the edges. So how are we going to do that? So basically we can do the same thing. So I'm just going to duplicate this and bring this on top. Okay, so and I'm just gonna change this to or add a fill effect, so we'll know like what this layer is exactly. And maybe something like that, or maybe close to white. And let's remove the glow for now. And what we want to do is duplicate this, and then target this one above to the layer below it, and then click this invert layer. And previously what we did was add a glow effect on add the Gaussian blur on the layer above. How about if we add the Gaussian blur on the layer below? It's going to be the effect. And now let's increase the Gaussian blur, and you'll see that it's working like what we want it to, right? Now it's the color is only here on this side. So this is perfect for what we are like trying to achieve. And for the blending mode, let's change this to maybe add. So now it's more like brighter. And let's now reveal the adjustment layer. So I think it's looking better now. And for the fill color of this, you can adjust this to whatever color that you want. So I think I'm gonna stick with something like this, similar to this color right here. And maybe just adjust the opacity. lessen it a bit. And also for the shadow, so I'm just gonna change the color of this. Remember, our color for shadow is yellow, and for highlights it's red. So I'm gonna change this to red. So that on just one look, I already know what these are. And for this one, maybe change the color of this to something like that. Right, it's still dark, but we could still see the character's face. If I make it like this, it's now, the character is now, it feels like she's glowing, and I don't want that. So I think this kind of blue is not a good choice, but this one is. And I think this is it. So that's the end of the tutorial. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I hope you learned something today. And if you're interested to join our Patreon, it's $5 a month, and you get access to all of the project files we have posted in Patreon, as well as templates. In case you are interested, the link is in the description. So thanks again. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps our channel a lot. And subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks, and I hope to see you in the next video.